Hi everybody, it is April and I am in my craft room, and today we're going to take a panel. Don't leave, don't you leave yet. But instead of putting borders around the panel, we are going to cut the panel up and see what happens. So come with me and be open-minded, because a panel can be more than just a piece of fabric with borders around it. Let's see what we can make. Hi everybody. So today I was given a panel from my friend Victoria, and she gave me some coordinating fabric as well. And we are doing a little collab. I sent her a panel and some fabric, and we're going to see what she made with it. But first, let's see what I did with her panel. All right, so here you see this lovely panel. We've got coneflowers, mushrooms and ferns, snakes, the different phases of the moon, mushrooms and a snail, flower arrangements, a kitty playing with a butterfly. These look like moths, and then a flower arrangement with a snake. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these apart. And this is by Dear Stella Designs. I like it. I like it. All right. Bring this. It drives my husband nuts that this causes a glare. He thinks that is unacceptable. Let me find my rotary cutter. I have something unusual planned for this. So we're going to just take this first set of 3, and we have 9. Yeah, 9 altogether. I'm going to make wonky blocks out of these. It's not going to be a log cabin, but it's going to be something. Yep, and now my dog's barking. It's going to be something like a wonky log cabin. The majority of this is going to be 2.5-inch strips. Pretty exciting, huh? Okay, I want to be the opposite. All right, so I'm going to cut all these blocks into wonky blocks, and then I will show you what I have planned next. As you can see, I have broken out my Go Big, and I plan to use it to cut all these 2.5-inch strips that I'm going to need for my project. Now, Victoria sent me all kinds of pretty fabric to work with for this quilt. Look at that, isn't that pretty? So I'm going to cut these into 2.5-inch strips, and I am going to make wonky log cabin blocks that look like this. Now, this first one, I think I got a little close on a couple of these because you really won't see much of that gray. So what I've done is I cut out the blocks to where they're not straight. Then I'm taking the 2.5-inch strips that I've cut out with my Go and just at random picking out a strip and starting to sew. So let's get the strips put around this block, and then I'll show you what I am doing with the gray. Now these other fabrics, I haven't decided yet. If I may need more 2.5-inch strips, and if that is the case, then I will use 2.5-inch strips from these fabrics. But I also have another plan for the 2.5-inch strips. But you'll have to stick around and wait and see what that is. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this strip and leave it on my sewing machine so that I can kind of speed up this process. So here I have the green on, and I need to get my iron out so that I can press this. Okay, let's see if my iron's hot yet. And I'm using my Steady Betty because all of these are on the bias and they will stretch if I'm not careful. So I'm going to put that across here. I'm going to leave some overlapping, and then I can go ahead, just cut that and save it for later. And then I don't want to pull. Do a little finger press. Here I have my wonky block. Somehow, this block is straight on the top and the bottom. Maybe that's a good idea. And here I've got gray grunge. I like the gray because it brings out the gray in the panel piece. And I like the gray because I had plenty of it that I can use for this project. So I want to square up my block. Now here, this gray is wider at this end and skinnier at this end. But in order to square up my block, I am going to actually want it wider at the top and skinnier at the bottom. So I am going to sew this strip on this side. I want to take this up here. And then, yep, I should be okay. I'm going to put a clip in the middle since I'm kind of doing pedal to the metal. Okay. Let's press this out. So this is straight. We have no idea how this is going to end up. Isn't that fun? You know it is. Okay. Whoop. Let's pull this up. Okay. Now this side is straight. And actually, the rest of the panel is straight. Huh. So I wonder if I just have to straighten one side That's kind of interesting. Okay. Let's see what happens. Let's see. I got this little piece right here. Cut that off. Everything else is straight. I'm just going to cut straight because, you know, it's already straight. And this makes it pretty easy. Now, I don't think, let's see, this piece might be long enough. Probably not. All right, so here, this side is, of course, very long. So we'll do this long piece here. Maybe we will be able to get away with that other. So this is going to go like that. No, we can't do that. Here it is. Let's see. Will you fit? Yes, you will. Now look, this side, is this side straight? Yeah, it is. I thought it was going crooked on me, but I don't think so. All right, so we're going to get rid of that and go ahead and sew the last strip on this block. So here we have the whole block. I need to straighten out this up here. Okay, and then I need to straighten over here. And I believe we have a rectangle block. This block is pretty big. Let's see what size it is. It is about 25 inches long and 20 3/4 inches. No, hold on. 20 and whatever that is wide. All right, let's put our blocks on the design wall and see what we got going on. This block is bigger than this block. Does that matter? I don't know. Let's see. I'm thinking maybe I pick my 3 favorite and make those the middle row. These 2 are definitely 2 of my favorites. Might be a hard choice, but I think I can make it. I may change my mind on what I was going to do in between the blocks. So I have 7 more of these. Gotta think about it. So let me sew those 7 and then we'll go from there. I've decided that I need more strips. So I'm going to pull out the rest of the fabric that I have from Victoria, and I am going to cut it into 2.5-inch strips. Okay, where am I? Here we go. And this is the Go Big. You do not have to have a Go Big. They actually, I think, have come up with a smaller machine that is electric that you can travel with more easily. And, you know, I've also got a hand crank one that I take on trips. Any way you do it will be fine. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I'm supposed to be able to get 6 strips. So let's give it a go. So this is my die cut. If anybody's done any paper crafting, you are familiar with dies. Well, if you've been around a while. So these are very sharp metal. They're not really blades, but they're very sharp metal strips. Here, 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 and here. Now there's nothing across this way. So I want to keep my fabric below the end of this line so that I don't have to cut it manually, which if I had to cut these ends manually would be fine. Now this end, same deal, but this piece of fabric, this purple, looks like it goes past the end, and I will just manually cut that, and I will show you how I do that. And what causes those metal shims, metal blade, they're not really blades, but what causes the metal to cut is the amount of pressure that you get with this sandwich on your machine. So when it goes through this mechanism, it is going to put a whole lot of pressure on this top mat, and it's going to push down really hard, which is going to engage or cause those blades to have pressure of the fabric on top of them, and it cuts. Now, I was always told that you shouldn't cut straight. Like, you don't want to do your cutting this way. In this instance, I don't have a line going across, so it's probably not that big a deal, but I just like to turn it just a little, and then you can see where the grooves are, and that's where the pressure has been put to cut the fabric. Okay, all right. These pieces that are hanging out over the side will just go through the machine. There will be no pressure on those. So as you can see, this fabric is unharmed. If you turn it too much and cause the edge of your mat to be pushed up against the side, you will cause problems. Ask me how I know. Also, if the fabric is up there and goes through that pressure point, it can tear your fabric and cause it, you know, some damage. So don't turn it on too much of an angle if you are going to do like I do. All right, I need some scissors. So here you can see, because these went past the end of the metal guards or blades or whatever you want to call them. I'm going to have to trim these. It doesn't matter if this is straight. This is on the selvage, so it'll all be good. All right, and then depending on where you place your fabric, and then of course it's going to have the same issue with the other end. That's how much you will have of waste. Now you may find a use for this. By the time you sewed 1/4 inch and 1/4 inch, I don't know what would be left of that. If you know what that could be used for, let me know in the comments below. I would be interested to hear. I'm sure there's something that I have not thought of. And if you have an AccuQuilt machine of some kind, let me know. If you have no interest in at all in this machine, you can let me know that too. All right, and these were just cut like normal because they were placed in such a way that they didn't go past like this line, and then there's no line here, but there is a line, it's just not a line you can see. And this guy would be perfectly useful. He is not straight. So I could send it back through or just trim it down. Okay, so I will put these other fabrics through this, and we will have a plethora of 2.5 inch strips to choose from to build up the blocks. This quilt is really coming together. So I've decided to sew it in columns because some of my pieces are wider than others. I didn't really make a certain size. So little improv going on. So this panel, I'm trying to figure out which panels go better together because they're the same width. So this is not as wide as this, but it is about the same width as this. And this one is wider than this one. And then this one fell. So I am not putting them in order based on anything other than their size. So that is what I'm in the process of doing now, is just connecting my panel pieces together. I had thought about putting in more strips in between, but I ended up liking this look. So I think I'm just going to stick with this. Now I made that one higher than the other two. Okay. Now I've got some excess here. And then I've got excess on the bottom. It looks like I didn't even need that extra panel, but that's okay. Because that's why they made rotary cutters. And then we have a little here. So I am going to trim off this inside area that is going to be just a smidge too wide and sew it all together. And we're going to have a quilt. Here it is, the final quilt. Would you have thought that was a panel? You probably would have, but I like it. I really love these moths and the coneflowers. They're just so cute. It's got a cat and butterflies and snails and mushrooms and the moon, just a little bit of everything. And I think the false log cabin around them kind of makes them pop a little bit. Now I have to decide what backing I want to put on it and what quilt pattern I want to use. Do I want flowers or feathers? I'm not sure. All right, so Victoria has a panel and some fabric that I sent her, and I'm going to put a link in the description below so that you can find her channel. I like what she gave me to work with. She made it kind of easy on me. So much fun. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you do what you want to do with your fabric. Do not let anyone tell you that, oh, you can't do that. Why can't you do that? So be sure to use your creativity in order to create something that you love, and someone else will love it too. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Eat some chocolate and be kind to everyone. Until next time, bye.